American exceptionalism versus appeasement. The stark difference between the Trump administration with Mike Pompeo and today's administration with Anthony Blinken. Let's get into it. Here we go. Welcome back to the Nino G Show. I'm your host, Nino Vaquero. Stopping tyranny, or at least trying to exploit it. Man, what am I living in an alternate universe? I believe so. I watched some crazy things happen, and I'm watching this new Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, bring us right back to the Obama administration of apologizing for everything. I got a couple clips for you today. I want to show you the stark difference between Mike Pompeo, Trump's administration, his Secretary of State, versus Anthony Blinken, who we have now. We went from strength, American exceptionalism, to American appeasement, apologizing for America saving the world. Let's first step up. We're going to go straight into Mike Pompeo, CPAC speech 2021, patriotism on display.
Last few months, we've been called clowns and deplorables and ignorant and rednecks. We've been called the evil resistance. The New York Times think I'm the worst Secretary of State of all time. Yeah, since I last saw you, the Chinese have sanctioned me. The Iranians don't think so much of me either. But I'm proud of our fight, and I'm proud of our accomplishments, and that we have truly upended the status quo. So today I'm going to arm you with some facts, some accomplishments from these past 4 years, how we protected every one of you and our great Bill of Rights at every turn. So look, where did we begin? We began with you. We began with workers all across America who we put back to work. We put back to work women. We put back to African Americans, Asians, Hispanics, everyone. Everyone was back working. We did that. President Trump did that. Our team understood that this matters.
Yeah, it does matter because the last administration didn't divide the country based on race or identity politics. We just put people back to work as the American way, the way where, guess what? You don't identify as, you can be proud of who you are, be proud of your ethnicity, your heritage. I'm an American Italian, and when my family came over, I'm the first generation American, but when they came over, they didn't come over waving the Italian flags. They came over waving the American flags and wanted to assimilate and be a part of the greatest idea on earth, America. And that's exactly what the Trump administration did. They also understood that in America, we don't need to divide based on identity politics, but we have to bring this up because all Americans were back to work. Right now, the crazy shadow government, they're suppressing an economy on purpose to further the big dupe, to further the scamdemic, to stifle the progress of the American economy, the greatest economy on earth. Prior to this pandemic, prior to this Chinese assault, or whatever you want to call it, the American economy was the strongest in the world. So right now, the shadow government is trying to keep that suppressed in order to push radical agendas to spend generational wealth that our poor, whoever's next is not going to get it, all to finally open us to allow the Trump economy to come back and them to take credit for it. The big dupe is fully underway.
We focused on the economy that put Americans back to work. We did it by also securing our borders, giving Americans the chance to make a good wage and a chance to take care of their families. The hallmark of our work here in America was that we were bold and fearless. And when I hear Democrats pretend they care about jobs in America. But before the seats were warm in the Oval Office, they destroyed 10,000 jobs in a pipeline. You know, and I see, too, my predecessor's predecessor, John Kerry, right? He thinks these folks are all going to go make solar panels. You think petroleum engineers and rig hands are going to go out and make solar panels? No, and you can bet this, too. Those cheap Chinese solar panels will start flooding into America like you have not seen.
Did Mike Pompeo just bring up the Chinese Communist government and talk negatively about them? How dare he? Mike Pompeo, watch your tude. Let's go.
And this won't be good for the United States of America. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes we get accused, say we don't care about the environment, we create jobs that destroy the environment. That's just not true. We simply didn't do it. We didn't protect the environment on the backs of American workers. There were more job openings than people looking for work for much of these past 4 years. It was an amazing accomplishment. I sent messages repeatedly.
That is an amazing accomplishment. There was more jobs than there was people looking for work. Right now, with the big dupe and the radical hostile takeover by the Democrats and the radical left, they are suppressing the strongest economy on earth because they want you to believe that the economy is stipend, that you need government. This last COVID-19 relief bill, like less than 6% actually went to COVID. That was a greater advancement of the welfare state. Wake up. But they want you to forget about what the greatest economy, the greatest administration in modern history was about, because they're trying to enslave you. They need you to be a part of the urban plantation.
The bad guys around the world that if you touch an American, you'll pay dearly. We all know that strength deters bad guys. Weakness begets war. And we want to stay out of wars. And we did. I was with the president so many trips, and he would tell his counterparts across the world, he would say, look, I'm going to put America first as the president of the United States, and I expect you will put your country and your people first. And we'll work together and accomplish this for both of our countries, and we did that. Clean air, safe drinking water, but the Paris Agreement was a fantasy for elite diplomats who just wanted to virtue signal. And when President Biden re-entered this deal, I can tell you that Xi Jinping was smiling every single minute, and the American workers lost. We, too, spent a lot of time. We defended America in the Middle East, and we defended Israel in the Middle East, too. We were told a number of things. Right? This was what establishment foreign policy meant. It says we were told that you can't sanction the Ayatollah in Iran, and you can't stop sending pallets of gas to the leadership. There'll be a war. Well, we did, and there wasn't a war. We were told you can't move the United States Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. There'll be a war. Well, we did, and there was not a war. We were told you can't allow Israel to have its rights in Judea and Samaria and the Golan Heights. There'll be war. Well, we did that. We righted that, and there was no war. We were told, and this was believed for an awful long time, that you can't secure peace in the region, in the Middle East, between Arab nations and Israel without buying off Palestinian kleptocrats. You'll create World War III. But we did. The Abraham Accords forged a real peace in the Middle East. You know, the Abraham Accords rewrote decades of failed shuttle negotiations because we were willing to go against the elites of the foreign policy established both left and right to secure American freedom. And
you notice that? They went against the American establishment, left and right, because all those career politicians, they ousted one of the greatest administrations on earth because the outsiders came in and they were all caught with their freaking pants down. Keep going, Mike Pompeo, American exceptionalism.
To champion your values. It's unfortunate. It looks like the new Team Biden, appears to be headed back into appeasing Iran. This will be a disaster for the United States of America and a disaster for the region as well. Fire and fury not to go to war, but to deter it, and deter it we did. You know, since those two summits, one in Singapore, one in Hanoi, the North Koreans haven't tested a long-range ballistic missile, and they haven't tested their nuclear weapons. Exactly 0 tests have been conducted. That's real foreign policy.
Please fast forward, play audio soundbite number 1 of present day.
North Korea fired off 2 short-range missiles over the weekend, U.S. officials said on Tuesday, marking the first such test since the start of the Biden administration. The tests come after North Korea refused repeated U.S. attempts at contact since mid-February. U.S. President Joe Biden was asked about the tests by reporters in Ohio on Tuesday.
We have learned that there's nothing much has changed.
North Korea hasn't tested an ICBM or nuclear weapon in over 3 years.
Jeez. Yikes. Our standing in the world is being dismantled quickly, fastly, and diversely. Keep going, Mr. Pompeo.
I hear President Biden saying, America's back. Back to what? So, right, back to pallets of cash to the Ayatollah so he can build missiles that threaten us? Back to apologizing when Iranians tell our soldiers and sailors to take to their knees at gunpoint, back to President Biden killing a pipeline, back to all the things that put America at risk, back to supporting a pipeline in Europe that'll create European jobs. This is not where we want to go back to any time at all. And we certainly don't want to go back to letting China have trade deals that kill our jobs right here in America. Keep championing American values. One more story. The smartest, best CIA officer that I ever came to know, Air Force Special Operations Officer. I'd ask him about someone who was working on our team, and I'd say, what do you think of him, or what do you think of her? And he'd say, love that guy. Pipe hitter.
Pipe hitter. Damn right. I was a part of that command. I had the honor and privilege of being a part of that command and being trained by warriors. And you're right. Everybody was pipe hitters, all the way down to the damn janitor. We were pipe hitters in the name of virtue, liberty, and freedom, foreign and domestic. America is the greatest place on earth. It was the only country founded upon the basis of individual liberty given by God. Now let's head right into the stark difference of the new Biden administration and Anthony Blinken.
We have no right to criticize them because we have our own challenges to deal with. Well, we know we have work to do at home. That includes addressing profound inequities, including systemic racism. We don't pretend these problems don't exist or try to sweep them under the rug. We don't ignore them. We deal with them in the daylight.
Director, State Councilor, given your extended remarks, permit me please to add just.
Let me give you guys some context real quick. This was the CHICOM summit where we were in Alaska, and that's our Secretary of State asking permission from the CHICOMs to speak on our own soil. Oh, here we go.
A few of my own before we get down to work, and I know Mr. Sullivan may have a few things to say as well. And there's one more hallmark of our leadership here at home, and that's a constant quest to, as we say, form a more perfect union. And that quest, by definition, acknowledges our imperfections, acknowledges that we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We have reversals. We take steps back.
And us to come to start to talk about the possible return to the nuclear agreement. We said yes. Iran said no. We'll see what they do going forward. We've been clear that the path to diplomacy is open. The ball's in Iran's court to decide if it agrees.
But yes or no, the U.S. considering lifting sanctions?
We've been very clear that Iran has to come back into compliance with its obligations under the nuclear agreement, and if it does, we'll do the same thing. And
the last clip, to put it into perspective, was Iranian parliament just a couple months back. They're burning the American flag and promising what they've always been promising: death to America. The stark difference of the Secretary of State's from American exceptionalism to American apologizing. Patriotism to appeasement. Secretary of State's, the Trump administration, to today with the Harris-Biden administration. I know most of you get it out there. I understand that I'm preaching to the crowd, but stand up for liberty. Don't be afraid to challenge the narrative. Let these people and our friends and our family members know that we are, in fact, facing various angles of tyranny. Thanks for being a part of the Nino G Show. I'll catch you guys on the next one.